Today on the show, we talk about the Power Rangers. All this and more on What the Hell Did We Just Watch? Welcome to another episode of What the Hell Did We Just Watch? I'm your host, Lumotional Lou, and this is the show that helps spread movie awareness. How's it going, guys? I hope you had a good week. I hope you had a great Easter Sunday. I hope you had a great weekend, all that business. And I want to thank every single one of you guys to helped me get to episode 50, because now this is episode 51. And the first movie that we're going to talk about is for the segment, What the Hell Did I Just Watch? The movie, The Power Rangers.
None of us really know each other, but we were all in the same place when Billy found those coins.
What is that? Do you feel weird?
We're strong. Insanely strong.
The answer to what is happening to you is here. You five are the Power Rangers. You were born for this.
Let's go!
Power Rangers.
Now, the thing that's pretty amazing about this film is that I actually liked it. And it was average. It was above average, as a matter of fact. It was okay. It was highly than okay. I liked it. You know, I just couldn't believe that they were able to make such a good movie out of it. Now, I just wanted to break it down because it's a film that, you know, it is good, but it has its share of flaws. And I see where it kind of falls flat. You know what I mean? So, I mean, the only way that I can really break it down, without spoiling too much, but I am going to give you some spoilers because I think the film has been out long enough that we can actually talk about it. So, I think that what works was that the team works. The team is good. The team does have chemistry for the majority amount of time that's been on the film. Now, the tone of the film is what's important. The tone of the film, I think, is also what works. The tone is semi-serious. There's a little bit of comedy in there. There are parts that are supposed to make you laugh, which I guess for some, you know, if that's what they want. But that's the film that they were supposed to make. I love the fact that the film was, they were trying for a PG-13 rating, so they were trying to get a little bit more out of the film's storytelling than what they really want to. The thing is that the film didn't have a very huge shoe to fill. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is that the TV show and the two films that were released before this, they were not that great. And this film, I think, actually beats it out of the water a lot. Like, they really aimed very high, and they were able to achieve that because the show and the movie are not that they're not huge. I know there's a huge, like, you know, following for it, but let's be honest, the film had a lot, didn't have a lot to, you know, live up to, because come on, it's, you know, the way that they made the Power Rangers here in America, it's very different. So them doing it like this, where they were kind of like going that superhero way, it worked. And it was a good idea. And they saw what Marvel's doing and DC's doing, and they realized that it works for them. And they say, why don't we do that with this franchise? And whoever it was that came up with that idea hit it right out of the park. And that's good for them. And that's good for Lionsgate for giving it a try. And, the film was good enough that I believe should have a sequel to it. You know, we'll get into that a little bit later about what else, you know, with that. The beginning of this film I could not stop talking about it after I watched it. Now, with the beginning of this film, what I mean is that those first 10 minutes, when it kind of builds up to where, you know, where the Power Rangers are in terms of like with the whole teenagers and all that stuff, the beginning part of it's very different. It's actually very original to what the TV show created. And in some ways, it's actually a lot better origin story of where Power Rangers come from and all this and that, because we know that even with the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, they were not the first Rangers. There were Rangers before it. There's always Rangers previously, you know, always before then. And they just, you know, they always get changed up and all that stuff. But the first act, where I'm going to spoil a little bit, Rita being a Power Ranger, amazing. That is awesome. That was such a great idea. The fact that she was a green Power Ranger and that she was a part of the team, and then somewhere along the line she falls from grace. And I think that was spectacular. That was a great idea, great writing on the part of the film. Whoever wrote it, whoever came up with that idea was a genius, and it works. Okay. The character development also works most of the time too, believe it or not. Even though that there are times that it's a little heavy-handed, it's kind of like, yeah, we got it. And I feel like you're adding about, some time into the film just so you can get that running time to 2 hours and whatever minutes that it was that you had it for. I just felt like, how many times do you have to say the same shit over and over again? It was just a little bit repetitive, but yes, the character development at times was very good. The entire movie, believe it or not, the person I think that holds it down is Rita Repulsa's character, who's played by Elizabeth Banks. I think she did an amazing job. I think she brought Rita Repulsa to the table where no villain from any Power Rangers TV show could ever go to, and even if it was just the film version of it, it doesn't mean that they could have held back. But it was a kids TV show, and I understand that. But this movie, I think what works is that they're able to bring in kids who can enjoy it, but also young adults to actually watch this and actually enjoy it as well, because there are some very good moments, and believe it or not, all those very good moments include Rita Repulsa in it. You know what I mean? I think that fucking is great. Now, what didn't work, and I guess I'll throw all my cons in there about this film, and it's quite a lot. And it just sucks because though it's quite a lot, it surprisingly does not hurt the film so much that I just kind of like, I can't say that I don't like it, because it's a good movie. It really, really is. But in order to enjoy something, you got to see its faults, right? And every film has faults. And, this one, unfortunately, has a lot of them. And one of them is that them having superhuman strength, I think is... it's kind of like stupid why they would have it. Then why have the suits? Okay, so they would have the suits so they can hide their identities. That's fine. But they're being taught how to fight, which they still can't. They have superpowers that doesn't come by from the suits. That, like, why have it if they can't fight? And when they put the suits on, they automatically can fight. That makes no sense. So, like, the suits help them fight, but it doesn't give them super strength. They already have super strength, and they don't know how to fight. So what's the point? And what I mean by that is that they can't fight without the suits. And I think that's one of the things that makes the show pretty awesome and unique, is because they've got people that can fight, so they can fight on screen, so we can see them fight on screen when they fight putties or what have you. Now, if they were given superpowers and then they were taught how to fight, or they just gained the ability to fight because they were Power Rangers, even without wearing the suits, then that would work, and maybe that would help a little bit, because I think that we missed out a lot on them being able to fight without their suits, and watching them fight the putties that are rocks, whatever. I think they should have called them something else, but I just think they just lean too much on the nostalgic of the show to give us something. They give us something new, but give them their old names, and yet they just don't resemble anything of what their old names are. So they just should have given it new names. But one of the things that I just can't stand is that, like I said, we don't get to see them fight. They barely even fight when in their suits and in this film. So I think that's what hurts it, because that's one of the things that we enjoy watching. It wasn't just getting into the Zords and fighting, in the Zords and then forming Megazord and all that shit. Another thing that I think hurts the film is the fact that they go into a lot of cliched storytelling when it comes to groups. You could see where a person like my age would see where they're taking shit from, and one of the things being The Breakfast Club, pretty much John Hughes movies in general. They just take things and just say, hey, let's just give it to them and all that stuff, and that's fine, I guess. I mean, what else are you gonna do? And I mean, that's not really it's a little con, but it's a con enough where it's just like, yeah, I've seen that. Like, why do you got to give it to me? And then the young cast, they don't know shit, but they should know something. If you ask me, just give them the fucking Breakfast Club. But they could have done just a little tad of information, a tad different, that it didn't literally need to be that. One of the things that kind of like upsets me is that with Spider-Man Homecoming that's coming, is that they keep saying, oh, this is John Hughes, but it's Spider-Man. John Hughes, I don't want it to literally feel like a John Hughes movie, but I can understand if they want to channel the kind of movie that it is, but they don't got to literally give me the whole movie that is exactly what a John Hughes film is. And Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, what have you, Weird Science. And this film felt a lot like it, and that was like a little con for me. It was like, I've seen this before. Why do I have to see the exact same thing over again? I can understand the group of kids and the tension and all that stuff, but whatever. The film, the plot holes are redunculous in this film. It's just a lot. There's a scene where at the end of the film where Jason puts the power sword away after they defeat evil, and Zordon tells him, you can keep the sword. He goes, no, I'll come back for it. I have no idea what that is about, because there was nothing before it that they talk about. He was not given the power sword. I don't remember him getting the power sword. I didn't go to the bathroom to see that, seeing, disappear. So what the hell, what gives with that? I think the film is also misinterpretations of like who's gay. They said the Yellow Ranger was gay, but the one that I felt that had more gay tendencies was the Pink Ranger. So it's like, I don't get that. So that was like right out the door. There are some things that just don't mesh up. I think that the film is 15 minutes too long. And what I mean by 15 minutes too long is that I think that in the middle, like I said, that it's a little bit like repetitive in terms of like all of them like being like that. They just keep saying what's wrong with them, and they do it for like 15 minutes longer than they should. They should have taken those 15 minutes and maybe put it in the beginning of this film, because I think that the beginning is just so well made that one of the things that could fix one of the plot holes is that Rita is evil. She turned on the Rangers. Okay, I got that. But how long? For when? When did she get putties? They didn't even, if there was like a nice action sequence between the Rangers and the Green Ranger, that would have just made a lot more sense. It would have made very, very cool detail to storytelling. And then we would have seen like what Rita has actually been doing until she was able to get destroyed by everyone. Because even the Power Rangers also were all killed off, because that's just so good. It was just so cool to see that we got shorthanded with that. And I think they cut out maybe a plot hole there, a plot device there where we see that. It would have been nice to see Rita be Rita, before we get to just see her walking around all over Angel Grove eating gold and sucking gold into her thing. I didn't get that. The whole eating gold thing, because the thing that I was saying, oh, please God, don't make her throw up a Goldar, which I should say Goldar was terrible. The Goldar in this film was lifeless. It was just a lifeless monster. It had nothing to do with anything. And why couldn't we give her a right-hand person? Goldar could have been that, and not necessarily look like that, but we could have had a Goldar type character that she influences, that is her right-hand man or woman or whatever it is, that you want a Goldar to be. But what I'm saying is that give it a character. You know what I mean? Like it's awesome, And going back to what I mean about Rita Repulsa being amazing is that giving her the only thing to do is eat gold, and it's just stupid. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you don't know what to do with what you have. This film kind of like shows this, especially with Rita. They have her eat gold at random times, which is just stupid. Collecting gold, they could have figured out something better there to do with her. Maybe terrorizing the city while she's trying to figure out how to bring Goldar to life, because I think that's what hurts it, is that whole build up to creating Goldar in the way that they were doing it. It was just like, that's lazy and stupid, and I know for a fact they could have come up with a better way, and maybe they just didn't want to complicate things, or maybe try to figure out a better story. But if you ask me, if they would have done that, I wouldn't be so upset about all the bullshit that they threw into this film. Like, literally, there's a lot of crap on there, and oh my God, product placement like crazy. Like, what the fuck is up with this Krispy Kreme shit? Like, every 5 minutes and towards the end of the film, you know, like, it's like, come on, man. Like, really, like, that you're fucking up the ending, the seriously heavy ending with a lot of dumb product placement, Krispy Kreme shit, a lot of dumbass jokes. Like, the film is so serious towards the end that when they throw the lighthearted stuff, it just does not fit. You can tell that they were just jammed in there because maybe filling up time, I don't know, or maybe trying to like make sure that whoever was watching wasn't getting all like serious stuff thrown at them. But come on, man, they're saving the fucking city. And even the show of Power Rangers made sure that when they were trying to save the city and form into their Zords, get into their Zords and form Megazord, they weren't doing that. It was serious the whole time. They weren't throwing jokes in there. They were getting their job done, basically is what I'm saying. So why should the film, you know, go any less? Like, why did we have to throw jokes in there while, you know, the city is trying to, like, you know, the city's under siege by Rita and they're trying to do, you know, save the world. And that's another thing that upset me, was because the build up to Rita, and then when she meets the Power Rangers, like, shit got real at that moment when she was fighting them. It was so good. And you can kind of tell that somewhere along the line someone said, hey, I think that we should tone this stuff back, and people are not going to realize, you know, that this is just a movie and maybe take it too hard. Parents might start getting upset and all this and that. And I'm just like, yo, stop getting so fucking scared, because now you're unbalancing the film. Because one of the things that pisses me off is how they got rid of Rita. They literally bitch slapped her into outer space, into the moon. And some people might find that funny, but I find that stupid. I found it very, very stupid. Because how do you, like, you could tell that they didn't know how they were going to get rid of Rita. And the film shows that. And I'm just like, wow, that's not really good. And you just did that to get a laugh. And it wasn't even good. Because one of the things that this film suffers from is, believe it or not, for me, the movie wasn't funny. Not one bit. Not one joke that was said was funny. Not one, like, little, you know, dancing with the Megazord shit was funny. Nothing was funny for me. Nothing was funny for me. I didn't think the movie was funny at all. And I think that that's poor writing in its way. I think that the film suffers from only having good ideas and not knowing how to execute them on film, because the film is not funny. I don't understand how a filmmaker was directing that. And as they were saying their lines, that they thought it was that what they were watching was funny, because it wasn't. It really, really wasn't. It wasn't funny at all. And then, let's see if there's anything else that I missed. Is that, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And I talked way too much about the Power Rangers. And the only thing that I can say in this little mini talk rant that I'm going to say after this segue into what I think really, really hurt the film, you know, after talking about him. And I came down to the fact that maybe it was because the film relied too much on what came out before. I think they were trying too hard to make sure that it was nostalgic, that people felt like they were watching the show in some way, but giving them a movie. Now, that's more good. I mean, that's a little bit more bad than good in my opinion. I think that's what hurts them. I think that's what hurt them in this film, is that you had a film that had no feeling of putting the Power Rangers theme song in there, and yet they managed to put it in for about 10, 15 seconds of the film. And I felt like that was out of place. The film didn't feel like that, and they felt like they should have, because, like I said, I think somewhere along the line, some producer, some bigwig was like, you know, this is starting to look less and less and feel less and less like a TV show. So why don't we give them a little bit more? But that's what I think is where the film got unbalanced. And I think that relying on the old school way of making the Power Rangers movie is what hurts it. I think that's also what hurt the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Okay? I think that that's also what hurts Ghostbusters, is the unbalance that the film has. And that's what the problem is with all these movies. And they're all like the same, but this is what's good. Power Rangers, I'll give it this. It's a much better film than any Power Rangers, than any Ninja Turtles movie that was out. Those two is better than Ghostbusters. Okay, it's better than Transformers, and it's better than G.I. Joe. That I can actually honestly tell you. But what all these films suffer from is a genre, or what we should be doing, and it causing itself like an unbalance. It makes the film unbalanced. You know, like they go for Ninja Turtles, and somewhere along the line, they just weren't able to find that middle ground where it was like the Turtles were okay, but what they were facing, what they were doing, the things they changed was stupid. And somewhere along the line, there was like, well, let's try to make it feel like the old movie or the cartoon. It just didn't work. G.I. Joe had the same problem. Transformers, don't even get me started. Those movies are just terrible. They went so far into the original, but even though they went more original than nostalgic, when they hit nostalgic, it was just like bad and poor taste. And then on top of what was original, it sucks. There's nothing good original in there. Ghostbusters, it's just a comedy. And we all know, if you're a Ghostbusters fan, you know that it's supposed to be serious and funny at the same time. And the thing is that though the movie was funny sometimes, it's just a goofball movie. Ghostbusters should not be that. And that's what I mean by that. And this movie, what suffers from it, it's quite the opposite. The original stuff is actually good, decent to good, and even great sometimes. But everything that they wanted to put that made it feel like a TV show falls flat. Comedy falls flat. The nostalgic stuff falls flat. It is what I believe that holds Power Rangers back in terms of it being great. And one of the things that I'm scared of is that I think that when they saw what the box office was, which was successful, but like I said, the shoe wasn't so huge that it needed to be filled. They obviously became the number one Power Rangers movie out of all of them, but that wasn't saying much. But it also didn't make that much more. It was like a 70 or something the last time I checked, and the other ones were like nothing. They actually all flopped. And in some ways, this movie's a flop too, because the amount that this film that they spent on this film, which was $100 million, which is a good number. Okay, they weren't even able to make $100 million back, and then plus whatever they needed to get as profit. So what is that telling you? And what's that gonna say to Lionsgate or whoever it is that's holding the torch for if they should make a sequel to this franchise? I believe that they should, but at what cost? What is it going to take for, or what are they going to take away of what makes this film work to make a sequel? Because I feel like that they're going to think that the only way that this film failed, or that they thought that they could make better, is if they make it more like the TV show. So if they made a sequel, I'm predicting that it's just going to be a comedy with stupid shit. And I think that they're going to bring the puns back, because one of the things I really loved about this film is that there are no puns. There's no puns in this movie. Nobody's saying dumb shit like you lose, and, and saying icky things like a girl's all icked out about ooze and all that shit, and how is yelling out gross like Kimberly used to on the TV show. And that works for that time. But for them to be that way now on film, it just wouldn't work. And I don't like it, and I wouldn't like it. So I'm, here's a little kind of like saying to the world out there, who's got the reins on the Power Rangers movie, who's thinking if they should make a sequel. I'm telling you, the way that you did it is fine. Let nature take its course with this film franchise. Chill with the fucking nostalgic parts of the TV show and concentrate on making a good movie, because the audience is there. The audience went to go see it. And I think enough people were happy with what we saw that we're willing to keep going and go to the movie theaters and watch your second part, as long as you chill the fuck out, don't get discouraged, and make sure that you make a movie worth watching. Okay? Just stay with the part. Don't come up with very dumb things to conclude your film, or come up with something that is going to keep moving the story along that is a poor taste or bad choices. So just pay attention, make a cohesive story. Don't go too fucking crazy, and chill with the TV show shit. Be careful with pun stuff, because that's one of the things that I think hurt the second film. Because think about it like this. You got I'm talking about the second film of Ninja Turtles. The first movie was terrible for me, and everybody knew that. So what did the studio do? They thought that maybe what was wrong with it was that it was too original from their side and not enough like the cartoons. And then people thought that it was, even I was convinced with the trailer, saying, oh, wow, look at that. Bebop and Rocksteady are in it. But one of the things that hurts it is that the film sucks too. You gave us what we wanted, but you gave us a shittier story. People think that just because we're happy with what we see is enough. But if you're going to give us a shitty story, then what's the point? If we're not going to enjoy what we're watching, and we're not going to enjoy what we're listening to. If we're not going to enjoy what we're listening to, we're not going to enjoy what we're watching. I don't give a fuck what you give us on the screen. It doesn't mean shit, and it doesn't change anything. All right? Now, I think I've talked way too much about Power Rangers and ranted enough about Power Rangers, about what I think is wrong with it and what I can say is what's wrong with the franchise if it becomes a franchise. And I just have a feeling that when we get part 2, it's going to be saturated with TV show shit. It's going to be funnier, and it's going to become even more unbalanced. And I'm telling you, Lionsgate, do not go that route. Stay on course. Chill with the fucking any dumb ideas that you might be having to make this sequel because you think it might work and bring in more money. No, it won't do that. Just keep making this franchise a little fresh. The ideas that you brought to the table that were original are fantastic. And please, 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 please don't put any puns in this fucking and any of these movies, because you did good with that in the first one. Chill with the fucking Megazord dancing shit. I can't. And write better comedy, because the shit is not funny. It's not funny at all. It's not funny ever. This movie was not funny at all. But it was enough for, like I said, I liked it. And all the bullshit that you threw at the end of that film, with how you got rid of Rita, with the fact that the Power Rangers did not fight the putties individually, the fact that their Megazord fight was terrible. Goldar, the idea of Goldar was terrible. Just, you didn't know what the fuck you were doing. You didn't know how the hell you were going to end it. And you did not look into previous films to see how they, handle those things a lot better. Okay. So, but you still, a movie wasn't terrible enough that you can't come back from it. You can still create something pretty good. The whole Tommy thing that's coming, or Tammy, or whatever it is that you want to do. Cause there's this rumor going around that they are thinking about making the Green Ranger a female, and that's fine with me because it will go great. And I'm looking forward for that storyline. If part 2 is exactly what I think it's going to be with the Green with Evil storyline, I'm all for it, man. Have them fight a Green Ranger. I'm down with that, because that's what made that shit was good. The Green with Evil was good. So give it a try. But anyway, if you like what you heard, please subscribe, comment, add, like, share, all that stuff. You can follow me on Facebook.com/Whatthehellpcast, Twitter.com/TheHellPcast, Instagram.com/Whatthehellpcast, YouTube. You can follow me on SoundCloud. You can just search "What the hell did we just watch?" You can just subscribe there, make comments. Listen. Let me know what you guys think. This is episode 51. I'm very happy with this. Thank you all again for listening, and I'm just ecstatic. I can't wait to just bring out more ideas and more shows and more movies that we're going to be talking about in the future, because I watch so much. I like spreading movie awareness and also TV awareness. So thank you again for listening. You know what I mean? And I love you guys, and you guys are awesome. All right. Now, I just got one thing to say. It's been Lumotional.